I have a drink, by the way. I know I'm probably the only one. Leanne, check it out. Check it out, Leanne. Get real jealous real quick.
If those are not there on Monday, I might cry.
On Monday? Oh, because no, I'll have you some. I'll have you some ready. So, guys, for the diamond retreat, I ordered 30 cases. 30. I'm like, okay, well, Leanne gets one to herself, so we'll be good. So for the inviting process, I was thinking about it, like it's fun to talk to y'all because I feel like we can just have like a real conversation about it. But I really feel like everyone does it so differently. And I think that that's like the biggest blessing for the business is that there's no like, you have to do this. And if you don't do it this way, you're not going to be successful. Deidre said on one of the Sister Empire calls the other week that she hates she hates small talk, and she doesn't want to do small talk, doesn't like it. She doesn't do it. It feels weird to her. And I am actually the complete opposite. I cannot just send a cold message because I feel I just can't do it. So it's neat that there's completely two different stories because we're both successful in doing it our own way. For me, when I get a message, a cold message so this is my personal inviting process, but I don't want you to feel like if you don't agree or do it like me, that you can't find your own way, because you absolutely can. But when I get a cold message on Instagram, I don't write back. I immediately, like unfollow or, I need them to at least, I don't know if pay me some respect is the right terminology, but I feel like I need them to at least treat me as a human before it's like a cut to the chase, join my challenge group message. So I do not do that. I really don't think I ever have. So for me, my inviting process is I try to, and this is like one of the main things Tiffany wanted to talk about is busy people. Like Leanne has 3 kids. I have 3 kids. Tiffany, you're about to have 2 kids. Like, we're busy. We don't have, so whenever I say like, I want to build a relationship with people first, I think that sounds very like, who the heck has time for that? Because you don't, we all don't, but you can find ways to build a relationship with a complete stranger on social media. So what does that look like for you? How can you fit that into your daily? The next thing I was going to talk about was business building activities, but this inviting process, this building relationships has to be like, if you get an hour to work Beachbody a day, this is part of your hour. Whenever we talk about the vital behaviors, doing your workouts, taking care of yourself, all that stuff, that is not what I consider as a work time. Like, that's not you working your business. That is you working on yourself. So whenever I tell my coaches, I need you to give an hour to the business a day, I mean an hour of these things. So an hour of,
yes. When you're saying that, sorry, I just lost my track of thought. When you were saying that you're building relationships with people, it's like you're constantly doing it, so you never feel like you're in a rush to get that relationship to a certain point. You're kind of just like letting it grow organically to get to know them, especially if it's somebody that you're meeting on Instagram.
Yeah, so so part of my business building activities is, if I'm going to say an hour for just general sake, but some people might have 30 minutes, some people might have 3 hours, add or subtract wherever you need to. But if I have an hour, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on going and finding new people every single day. This is something that we've talked about a million times. So there's several ways to do it. I personally don't like hashtags. They intimidate me. So go to boutiques you like. When I had the baby, I was going to all the baby things. So like Kite Baby, I love their clothes. I was going through their followers. Baby Breeza, I use their formula thing. I posted in their stories, and they thankfully posted. I posted mine, they posted in theirs, and I go through their followers. Those are easy connections. to that it doesn't feel, it's not hard to find, it's not hard to spend 15 minutes on following new people. So that's 15 minutes. The next 15 minutes of business building activities is, how can you keep track who the people, maybe, maybe we all have a different system with this. I'm a pen and paper type girl. I know that there's lots of people that like to everything to be online. But I literally, if you look at my desk, like, it's full of papers. There's no organization to it, but it works for me because this is just how my brain works. If I force myself to track online, I don't enjoy it. So I don't do it. And I just don't invite it all, or I don't keep track at all. So I've always been a pen and paper girl. And that's fine because it's working. Is it the most efficient? Probably not, but it's fine for me. So I have people's names literally all over my desk. And so part of my work hour is I need to go and interact with those people. Just like notifications for you fall through the cracks nonstop, notifications for other people as well. So for example, if I follow them at 8:10 and they just clocked into work and they have a full 8 hours ahead of them of work, that notification, yeah, sure, it popped up on their phone, but they're not going to remember to go back and look when their whole day is over and they're freaking exhausted. So I have to reappear in their life at some point, maybe in 2 days, maybe in 3 days. But you need to be doing this daily, having a list of people that you go and reappear in their life. Simple as that. So for Deidre, what she's saying is she doesn't like to small talk with people. My business is built on small talk. Hands down. That's just how I do it. So I go and I reappear in these people's lives. She is so stinking cute. I reappear in these people's lives every single day. I don't do the same people every single day. I have lists, like I said. So I have a big ongoing list in my calendar. I have a list in the notes in my phone. I have lists on just like random pieces of paper. Again, this is just what works for my brain. But when I get through with that first 15 minutes of a block, my next 15 minutes is interacting with those people. Oh my God, girl, your little daughter is so stinking cute. I love her hair. Simple as that. Like, I'm showing them love just the same way that I love when someone tells me that my daughter's cute. It literally makes me smile. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Like, I'm literally obsessed with her. So it's an easy compliment that you don't have to feel in any way anything about. Like, you're just showing love. If that turns into a Beachbody relationship in the future, awesome. If it doesn't, that's fine too. You're not wasting your time. You're making that person feel loved and feel attention. So that's the next 15 minutes is growing these relationships. One of my coaches told me today, which I thought it was so great to then bring up on this call. She said that she was going through old screenshots in her phone, like super old, of last year, 2019, April. And she saw this random screenshot of she in her camera roll, she had screenshot a story of mine. And we just interacted back and forth about her Etsy shop. If you want to be completely honest, she told me that she had an Etsy shop. We interacted about that, nothing to do with Beachbody, from April 2019, and she signed up in 2020. So that relationship took a lot of time to grow, but I'm okay with that. And let me tell you why, because I'm not going anywhere. And I feel like whenever you make your mind up about that, whenever you know that in September, that in September of 2021, you're going to be here. In September of 2022, you're going to be doing the same exact work ethic, work behavior. You don't feel like you need to rush these relationships. You know that they're going to grow, and you know that the people that are meant to be on your team are going to join you. Now, are there ways to maybe speed up that process? Yes, there are. Of course there are. Maybe you do, maybe you're really on top of your invites in your stories, and this is something that I don't feel icky about. And when I say I don't cold message, I mean I don't go find a stranger on social media and just message them right away. But what I will do is, if we're following each other back and forth and I see them viewing my stories, day after day, I will go, and if I see that they viewed those invite stories, I will go and message people. Not all the time. And only reason I don't is because of lack of time. But when I had time, if I had an ideal, work minute to sit, I would go back and look at who viewed those stories, and I would message from there. And I'd say, like, hey girl, I saw that you watched my stories today. I just have to tell you, I know you would freaking love our boot camp. If you ever want me to explain more details, just tell me and I would love to. I keep things super real, super down to earth, there's no fluff. There's no, stalking. There's no, like, I don't feel bad in saying that to someone because I believe in what we do. And I know that even if they don't join September's challenge group, maybe they'll join January's. So, and to me, that isn't a cold message because they're viewing my stories. So I do have, I do invite, I do put myself out there, and I do ask for people to join me, but it's because we've built some sort of relationship first about something non-Beachbody related, which is super easy to do. Please do not feel overwhelmed by that. Social media is a social space. People expect social behavior on social media. And that's something that I had to kind of digest too, because I thought, I don't want to bother someone. I don't want to just like, rub them the wrong way, but they're expecting a social environment. So you don't rub people the wrong way. So that's the first thing I wanted to touch on. Another thing that I think that I do pretty good at is giving people a chance to communicate with me. And this in turn turns to easier conversations that can merge to Beachbody. So what I mean by that is in your stories, I mean, give people a chance to interact with you. Give people a chance to, maybe it's about baby food, maybe it's about diapers, maybe it's about a butt cream, whatever it is, give people a chance. And I know we talk about this a million times, but I feel like there's actually a fine line between doing this and doing it correctly. And what I mean by that is you can post your color wheel all day long, but if you don't like give the vibe of an open door in those posting of stories, yeah, you're letting people get to know you, but there's not really interaction happening from you doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. So what I mean by is take it even a step further and spend the time to really explain yourself, whether it's through talking or whether it's through you typing something on your story thread. Explain like your thought process or why you're doing something, or your beliefs on it. I feel like that we all relate with each other when we don't even realize we're going to. So for example, I've said this before, but one time I talked about how my husband never turns his socks inside out, which is completely retarded. And I even feel silly putting in my stories, but I related with so many people from just that. It's hard for people to relate to us when we post just workout clips, or we post just how we're on track with our, our program or whatever. Like, that's awesome. And you have to show that. But at the same time, you're not going to get messages from those story clips. I kind of do, like, I'll get like, go mama go, or you're doing great, or whatever. Or what workout is that? Of course I get that. But at the same time, like, I get a ton more messages when I give people a chance to conversate with me and interact with me. So really just trying to be meaningful with your color wheel, and not just putting stuff out there because you're like checking it off the list, but really being intentional with like how you're letting people into your life. So what I was saying is I really feel like that helps me with these with not cold messaging, because I put in all that work into my stories, we've had some sort of conversation already. So when they're still showing up in my stories, I don't feel like I do a great job of like giving content or giving free, people can provide like free recipes or free, there's tons of people on social media that do an amazing job of that kind of thing. That's not really me, but I do share a ton of mom stuff. So it's like, what can you share that people will have a chance to relate with you outside of your workout program? Let me get a drink. Hold on. Don't be jealous, Leanne. Sorry. So sorry. That's my third one too, by the way. So I just feel like, and another thing, just to kind of mention stories and social media for a minute, like, I don't know if you struggle with this or not, but when I put too much pressure on myself to post a certain amount of times or show up on my stories a certain amount of times or have have it look like this or have it whatever. When I put too much pressure on myself, I don't show up at all because it feels too hard and it feels like I'm too imperfect to be able to meet that standard that I feel like I'm supposed to meet. Whenever I literally just let myself be, I'm like, I don't care if this looks bad. I don't care if I have a pimple on my nose. I don't care if it's not the right lighting. I don't care. When I just let myself have that, I show up in such a more, what's the word? Oh, I don't know the word.
Authentic.
Yeah, that, but like also like relatable. Like you just don't need your profile to look like anything other than you are. If you're like Cassie, I think of Cassie. She did that Zoom for Sister Empire. And while I loved it, it's also not me. And I thought about that Zoom and I reflected on it and I thought, you know what? Her stories are awesome. And I'm so glad that she has that vibe and that look. But it would take all of my mind power and all of my energy to try to duplicate that. And I'm not going to do it. It would suck me dry. And so if you can pull tidbits that make you enjoy your social media, then do it. But if it's going to drain you and make you feel less than, then don't. So while I love watching Cassidy's stories, they're appealing to me, that's just not what I'm able to give to my followers. I'm able to give something different in a different way that is valuable to them, different than Cassidy. We all have different things that we'll bring to our followers. Okay. So, and then this is an obvious, and I know that it's dumb and annoying, but like I wrote down, but I kind of have even a fine line with this too. I wrote down, be so committed to a program that you have so much belief in what we have to offer that like you don't care if someone joins, like I said it before, someone joins you in this month or next year, the same month, whatever. But at the same time, I've also, in my years of coaching, I've had to find my speed and my stepping and my groove with programs. So I want to touch on this because I feel like you might look at Tiffany or you might look at Leanne, which are big leaders in y'all's team, but you might look at them and think like, huh, like they whip out program after program. They kill it. They never miss a day. They're constantly showing up. Like, God, they just finished MBF and now they're already starting this. Like, I suck. Like sorry, Leanne, I'm less than, I can't do that. I can't keep up. You just watch other coaches and you think that because you maybe don't do it as perfect, you don't feel like you can do it at all. And I don't know what kind of switched for me. Maybe I used to feel that way all the time. I beat myself up like crazy. But I guess it's maybe having the third baby when I had to let go of so much. And now if I miss a day, guess what? I pick back up the next day. I don't go and explain myself on my social media or apologize for missing or beat myself up for missing. I've learned to roll with life in this business and knowing that it is going to be so imperfect, so just crazy and chaotic and maybe a 21-day program takes me 27 days, but dang it, that doesn't mean that I can't do it. It doesn't mean that I can't graduate it in the way that looks okay for my life. So I just feel like if you can go all out, I wrote be so committed to a program. So yes, like that's the goal. And if you can do it, do it. But if it takes you a couple more days, or if you maybe go out and just splurge on Mexican food, don't feel like you have to restart your journey the following Monday. Keep going and keep showing up and show the Mexican food. Show your following that you get to live your life. You are not, that's where the relationship builds, guys. Like they're watching you every day and they're like, oh, good for you. You're killing it. But when you show the real side of you, they're like, oh, sweet, she eats Mexican food and I love Mexican food. Like the fact that she can do that, maybe we'd get along. Like maybe I could do what she's doing too. It just shows people, because a vast majority of the people that you're talking to beat themselves up on a daily basis literally 95% of the day. They are upset. They're comparing themselves with everyone on their social media. They're wishing they're who we were before we started Beachbody. And if you think back to that, maybe that's not exactly your story, but for me, I was so miserable, so bitter, so negative. And I watched people, and I never really for a second put myself like, oh, I can do that too. I more like was like, oh, I suck, and they're killing it, and I'm just, I'm less than. And you have to show people that like you're still real, you're still human, and however you complete your programs is okay. Beachbody doesn't say you need to be perfect. Beachbody doesn't say you need to be a robot, and Beachbody doesn't say you have to explain every move you make on social media. So if you take a week off because you need to, do it, and don't beat yourself up about it for a second. Just don't let that week roll into 2 weeks. Stand right back up. And I feel like the second I flipped that mindset with my eating, I used to be a huge binge eater. I flipped that mindset with my eating, and I've also flipped that mindset with my business. It has helped me be so much more on than off. I'm not always on. There's a lot of times where I'm off, but I'm a lot more on than I'm off than I used to be. So really just learning who you are and accepting who you are. And of course, pushing yourself. I push myself every single day, not every single day, but I push myself a lot. But also I'm not going to beat myself up that I'm not perfect compared to some other coaches. I'm as perfect as I can be right now. And I'm like fully accepting that. And then another thing that Tiffany mentioned is creating a schedule. So if you look at, I'm going to look at Leanne because she's on the phone, and it says Becca's on too, but I can't see her face. But Leanne, I can guarantee you, she knows exactly when she's going to work. She knows exactly what she's going to do when that work time appears. She knows what needs to be done in order to build a business. She's gone from coach to 6-star diamond, and I mean, like literally the flip of her mindset. So creating a schedule, what I mean by that is if you don't, you're not going to show up for your business. And it's not going to be because you don't want to. You want to. It's going to be because life is freaking busy and life is hard, and your kids and your husband and the laundry and all this stuff are always going to take first over your business. If you create work hours and you show up for them just like you show up for your family, your business will change. So for me, and another thing is like, I was thinking of my work hours, like being able to tell you them. They just recently changed about 2 weeks ago, but that's what I kind of want to mention is like your work hours change in the season that you're in. So Tiffany's work hours are about to be completely flipped upside down with a newborn. She's going to, it depends. Like it's all about, when does the baby nap? She's going to be working then. When does the baby, when is she up at night feeding the baby? She'll be working then. Like the season that you're in, adapt to it, adjust to it. And then as soon as you notice it changing, rearrange. We thankfully Beachbody, we get to take second to our family. But if you always let your business be second, and I mean this in like a nice way, like of course your family always comes first, but like if you don't ever put your business first, it will never treat you like it's a real business. If you don't ever show up for your business just as strongly and as fiercely as you show up for your family, it's always going to be just kind of there. And like, yeah, you maybe hit Success Club sometimes, or you maybe inspire someone sometimes or whatever, but like, are you going to grow a foundation of a business? No, you're not, because this business takes a lot of work. And I'll tell you, like, it's the best work. I genuinely love it. But I don't know anything else that would wake me up early in the morning and keep me up late at night. Like I don't. So I love it. But at the same time, if I wasn't disciplined, I'm personally disciplined. So it's not hard for me, but like for people that are kind of like scatterbrained or kind of like go fly by the seat of your pants, or like just, live your life. You only live once. All those things are good, and it's great to have that personality, Tiffany. But if you don't have consistent work hours, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, okay, I've had a lot of fun the past 6 months, but what have I done for my business? What impact have I made? What changes have I made? So the best schedule that I have, and guys, of course, create your own, but the best one that I have, just to give you something to go off of, is I work Sunday through Wednesday nights, and I know it's Thursday, but whatever, it's an exception. There are exceptions in the schedule. I work Sunday through Wednesday night, and that means that my husband, I do the baby now that we have 3 kids. It looks a little different, but I do the baby. But the second I get her down, my husband does the boys. So that means I have from that time till bedtime, and I'm invested in my business. It also looks a little different now because I wake up in like the either 4:45 or 5 something, and I work from my phone for a little bit, and then I do my workout. So I'm up really early, so I'm going to sleep earlier. Like all these things have changed within time. Like I had to think, okay, how effective am I being with this schedule? Could I tweak it? Could I make it better? And right now I'm really loving my schedule. If I get to a point where it's not really working, I'll need to readjust again. But so for me, I'm working every morning before the kids are up, then it's go to school madness. It's just like what pockets of time. This is me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. If you are, I love the fact that we have Tori Acord and her entire crew now, because it's so easy for me to say, if you're a working person, then, all of their entire team wakes up at 4 something. Is that easy? No, I'm sure it's not, but they all want this to work that bad that they are up in the 4s. And if I message Tori at 10 o'clock at night, she'd answer. Like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be working your way to 10-star diamond like Tori is right now? How bad do you want to replace your speech language pathologist salary like Tori did this past year? Like, how bad do you want it? If you don't really care about it, then, and if you're fine where you're at, then don't wake up before something. But if you want this business to be crazy like you see it for other people, you've got to get very serious with your work hours. I literally could work Beachbody 10 hours a day, and I mean, I'm never done. I'm never done. It's because my Instagram is literally like an ocean of fish, and I literally could spend more and more and more and more and more time constantly finding more people, as well as loving on the people that I already have. They all probably would love like personal check-ins, and and I do try to do that on a weekly basis with my people. But at the same time, like, there's a lot of people out there that just want to have a friend, and they would love if you were that person. So it's like, I could work Beachbody all day, but so what do you need to do? So like we talked about, the business building activities, having conversations and small talk with people, that doesn't count as in it does, but at the same time, like, I mean, maybe like a friend that is a challenger of yours and she's been a challenger for 6 months, you texting her about her progress pictures or her food or whatever, that's not really what I would consider a business building activity. Yes, it's checking in with your old people, but as far as what do you need to do to move your business to the next level, as in hit Success Club every month, sign new coaches every month. When I think of that, I think of you constantly being in offense mode, where you're constantly trying to grab the ball and run with it and score a touchdown. Those little small talks, like checking in with a challenger, that can be done while you're watching Netflix. That can be done while your kids are independently playing. That's not something that like requires you to like sit and work. I just feel like that's kind of easier. So I don't really count that as like work time. I count that as like me basically managing my business. But if I was going to sit down and build my business, I would need to be meaningful and on offense of how can I take my business to the next level? How can I find, and there's so much in like taking care of the people that we already have, of course, but at the same time, we're all trying to grow our business every single month. And what that means is finding new people and working with new people and turning their life into a Beachbody life. And that's all done in like this business building time clock. Anything y'all want to talk about?
That was great. I like that, it looks different for everybody, but reevaluating constantly to see what works for you. And as you're moving through the seasons of your life, knowing that you have to be on offense and have to adjust to, whatever is happening, with school starting or homeschooling or starting a new job or moving or a new baby, like all of those things happen to everybody. And your business looks
when
different
you're
than else.
on more than off, then when I completely like mind blanked with the week that Finn started school, like I didn't do any business building activity for a whole week. That's okay because that fits into the life of an entrepreneur that's a mom. Like it's okay to have an random off time if most of the time you're on, just like you're eating. It's okay to eat Mexican. It's okay to eat Mexican food if most of the time you eat clean. It's not going to completely derail your results, just like it's not going to completely derail your business. We can't expect to be perfect. We have to do our best on the days that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like too how you said, I mean, I think sometimes, I mean, even being a coach for a long time, I forget honesty in terms of like the reality of not being on point all the time is so much more helpful and beneficial to your audience than the portrayal of always getting your workout, always eating clean 100%, and, being on point all the time.
And it's also a fine line because when I'm off, like when I'm eating bad or being lazy or whatever, like I also am off social media. Like I don't feel like updating my stories. I don't feel so it's like sometimes I have to reality check and I have to be like, okay, no, you need to take a picture of this ice cream because you're not ever showing these moments where you're real and you're not being on your game all the time. And it doesn't, it's something that I too constantly have to kind of check myself because I'm like, okay, I showed my workout every day, but I didn't talk about the day that I completely just ate ice cream and did nothing. Like
Yeah.
that's what's real.
Yeah.
And finding a way to be able to take off, but show that you're not perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much. That was incredible. I appreciate it.
I can see Becca now. Thank you.
Well,
Well, y'all, thank y'all for getting on and
yes, I will post the recording. I'm going to stop this.